So good morning, everyone. Today I am presenting our work about the possibility of extracting fetal ECG signals with morphology preservation from non-invasive abdominal recordings. So non-invasive fetal electrocardiography is actually a technique that enables the assessment of the fetal cardiac electrical activity since early pregnancy by recording the fetal ECG signals by simply applying some surface electrodes on the maternal abdomen. Okay, sorry. But we know that the current clinical guidelines tell us that the main fetal cardiological assessment is based on ultrasound-based techniques, which, however, are expensive, requires highly specialized personnel, and more importantly, the more advanced examinations are only restricted to risky pregnancies. And in all these cases, even though we are able to assess the fetal heart from the morphological and the functional perspective, we evaluate only its mechanical activity, thus overlooking the important information that is driven by the fetal ECG morphology. So for this reason, scientific research moved and tried to foster the research leading to alternative strategies. And in this sense, fetal ECG is very promising as it can allow for a prenatal monitoring since the 18th week of gestation by a very low-cost setup, and it also offers these opportunities by risk-free technique because of its non-invasiveness for both the mother and the fetus. And it also be used in long-term applications, so allowing for fetal arrhythmias detection or bit-to-bit variability analysis. But more importantly, it can be a powerful tool for the analysis of the fetal ECG waveforms that can be altered by several pathologies, or congenital heart diseases or fetal arrhythmias, and so allowing for a prenatal diagnosis and assessment of these pathologies, and so also for their possible therapeutic solutions, both in utero or immediately after birth. So we also have learned, and we know that nowadays in the market there are several fetal monitors that are able to assess the fetal heart rate accurately. But we also know that, unfortunately, at least in Europe, the low quality of the recordings that are at the basis of the fetal ECG limits its adoption in the common clinical practice. And who is responsible for this? We can actually mention three main causes. So the signal source, we have a very weak signal, as the Entov team also mentioned, that is non-stationary because the source, so the fetal heart, is very small, and it can assume different positions, and also its behavior is time varying, so it's very challenging for this reason. And for sure, the signals is acquired from a source that is not directly accessible. So the signals needs to propagate from the fetal heart up to the measuring electrodes by different media that actually change in shape and in conductive properties during the whole gestational period, hampering it and even distorting sometimes the fetal ECG signals. In particular, here I'm referring to the vernix caseosa that developed between the 28th and the 32nd week of gestation that introduced a very challenging condition for the fetal ECG acquisition. But also the overlapping interferences, so instrumental noises, power line noises, but mainly the maternal interferences, so the maternal ECG as we can see here, that is very high with respect to the fetal ECG, the maternal respiration and the uterine contractions that can overlap not only in the time domain but also in the frequency domain. And in this sense, it's very challenging for for all the bioengineers, because we cannot apply conventional signal processing methods. So overall, we have a very challenging scenario with a multi-channel, in this case, non-stationary signals with very low signal-to-noise ratio. So what we have done, we have, in this scenario, we try to conceive a new data-driven framework to extract fetal ECG signals with preserved morphology. I won't go into the details, too much at least, from the technical perspective, but I would like to mention that this work is in collaboration with Professor Autin-Bu from the New York University and Dr. Pei Chun from the Yale University. So just to have a quick overview of our algorithm, the first step is the preprocessing stage, which allow us to attenuate out-of-band interferences, out-of-band noises, which is followed by a multi-stage maternal ECG estimation and then suppression. So at first, we implemented an accurate maternal peak detection by selecting all the peak annotations that were in common between the two most coherent channels in terms of F1 score by leveraging the shape shared time Fourier transform approach. And then, after the maternal peaks are identified, we can segment each maternal bit just to the noise to reduce the presence of the fetal and the noise interferences in this case to have a better estimation of the maternal ECG. Why? How? In the first stage, by a data-driven optimal shrinkage approach that is conceived in this case to deal with correlated noise, as the fetal ECG actually is for the maternal ECG, and then followed by the non-local median algorithm for the denoising of the uncorrelated residual noise. So actually what we obtain is a noiseless template for each maternal bit that can be that can replace the original one in a noiseless maternal ECG trace by also leveraging a sin square-like function for tapering. So after that we can subtract this maternal ECG noiseless maternal ECG from the corresponding abdominal ECG channel to have a preliminary estimation of the fetal ECG, which however is still affected by noise. So we need a post-processing stage that resembles the first stage, so what we have done for the mother. Initially, we have actually a channel selection approach that leverages the coherence of the, based on the F1 score of two state-of-art fetal peak detector. And on the selected channels, we propose a singular value decomposition to extract the component, the reconstructed component showing the highest fetal ECG content in terms of pseudo-periodicity, so basing the estimation on a single signal quality index that is provided in the literature. So on this selected component, we perform the R-peak detection, and then after the fetal R-peak are detected, we can segment the fetal bit and continue with the post-processing, so for the denoising. And after that, we have our clean fetal ECG trace in a multi-channel setting. So we tested our algorithm on two real data sets. So the antenatal data set by Matoni et al. That includes 10 recordings, each one with 4 abdominal channels, acquired with a sampling rate of 500 Hz, and starting from the 32nd week of gestation on. Whereas the second data set is the NYMPHEA data set acquired by our group. So it includes 60 recordings with enclosing each one 24 abdominal channels, 3 thoracic channels, and 1 channel for the maternal respiration. All these electrophysiological signals are acquired in synchronous with the pulsed wave Doppler. So in both cases, we have a reference for the occurrence of the fetal QRS locations. And then, in order to have a ground truth for the fetal ECG morphology to be compared with, we also exploited a synthetic data set that we generated with the fetal ECG scene toolbox that is composed of 10 pregnancies for each subset. In particular, we emulate 4 different subsets of abdominal ECG signals, varying the noise level, in particular adding realistic non-stationary noises, so having 4 different subsets at 3, 6, 9, and 12 dB. So the metrics we used for the evaluation were aimed at assessing the capabilities of our algorithms in different conditions. So in different, in the first case for fetal heart peak detection, so for potential application for fetal heart rate measurements, whereas on the other hand, we also assess the recovered fetal ECG morphology. And for sure, whereas for the fetal heart peak detections, we could had the occasion to exploit all the 3 data sets. On the other hand, for the metrics that are the Pearson's and Spearman rank correlation coefficient and the root mean square error, we were able just to use the synthetic data. So as regards the results on the Matonia et al. Data set that is in the last gestational period, we can say that our algorithm offers very good performance with a median accuracy, true positive rate, and F1 score over 99%. And it also outperformed the current available algorithms that have been tested on the same data. On the other hand, from the morphology perspective, we can also appreciate its capability of recovering very useful clinical features as suggesting the presence of P and T wave. Similar conclusion can be drawn also for the NYMPHEA data set that, however, is acquired in an earlier gestational period. So it's very promising also in this sense, suggesting the presence of clinically relevant features. And as regards synthetic signals, we can see that whereas fetal QRS detection performance improve while enhancing the quality of the signal, in this sense, also the morphology capability is preserved, suggesting minor distortion and residuals. That can be also visually appreciated in the trace. So just to conclude, our algorithm seems to be very promising in terms of fetal QRS detection, so for fetal heart rate estimation, but also for the recovery of morphological features on both real and synthetic data. And it seems also robust to noise, non-stationarities, and gestational ages, but its performance were found to be actually slightly influenced by the duration of the recording, suggesting a recording lasting at least 1 minute. Oh, sorry. So just to have a quick overview of the study limitation, for sure we should mention a lack of validation on larger and prospective clinical cohorts involving also arrhythmic fetuses or unhealthy fetuses showing ECG alterations. So these are the acknowledgement, and I would like to thank you, all of you, and the contributing co-authors to this work.
Thank you. Questions, please?
Thank you. I think it's very exciting to see the work continue over well over a decade now, right? Would you speak a bit more about dependence on gestational age? You mentioned in the introduction the fact that the vernix caseosa, of course, has an impact in attenuation of the signal, and if it comes to smaller QRS, features. I'm sure it's an issue. So would love to see maybe a little bit more insight into dependence of the ECG extraction on gestational age.
Sorry, can you repeat? I didn't hear you very well.
Sorry, I was trying to say if you could speak more about dependence of the quality of the fetal ECG extraction on gestational age.
Sure. The different data sets are intrinsically different in this sense because the Matunia data set, besides being acquired from the 32nd week of gestation on, is also offering a long-lasting recording that I didn't mention, so 20 minutes recording. So it's actually more suitable for the extraction in this sense. The Nymphea dataset, on the other hand, which is acquired in early gestational stages, suffers also because it's shorter in duration because of the synchronous recording of the pulse wave Doppler that we need. So actually, we explore the impact of the gestational age on the Nymphea dataset only for this reason. And as we can see briefly here, actually the week of gestation seems to have no influence on the performance of the algorithm. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm speaking from a clinician researcher perspective who's done quite a lot of research on the non-invasive fetal ECG. Could you talk a little bit more about the impact of vernix?
The impact, sorry?
Vernix on the signal.
Sure. We selected this, actually this period, so 32nd on and before the 28th, mainly for this reason. Because actually the vernix caseosa developed from the 28th week of gestation on, but also when it disappears, it's actually not disappearing homogeneously. So there are different studies from Ostendorf et al. That demonstrated that actually the signal is distorted even after the 32nd week of gestation because the propagation is not actually homogeneous. So I don't know if I answer your question.
It does. I just want to be able. I just wanted to be able to talk to clinician colleagues about this because a lot of them say to me, "I think it's something to do with the vernix, but I don't understand why." So there's a lot of discussion about this, but I'd love to know more. Yeah. Is it simply that the vernix is blocking the signal? I'm sorry, I'm not an engineer.
No, but maybe I think that the most powerful question can be answered by Dr. Kinan.
Okay, I'll talk to him.
That does simulate this condition on the fetal ECG simulator.
Right, one last question. Only one.
Yes. Really nice. I was wondering about your assumption that you make, which is pseudo-periodicity while detecting the fetal R peaks.
Yes.
I was wondering how sensitive is your method, and also if there was any latency required in...
No, actually, no. Even though we still didn't explore strategies for low computational implementation of the algorithm. When I use the pseudo-periodicity, just very quickly, is just to select the best reconstructed SVD component among the available ones, just to perform an accurate fetal R peak detection. For sure, there is no, the pseudo-periodicity is not the only one that can be used, but just to make it more robust, we also implemented some alternative metrics. So, for example, besides the pseudo-periodicity, looking also at the physiological plausibility of the heart rate and how much it is different from the maternal heart rate that we already detected. I don't know if...
No, yeah, that's great, thanks.
Right, no more questions. Thank you very much again.
Thank you.